Right, despite me not wanting to talk about this anymore, I should at least mention a couple of final updates on this football storm in a teacup nonsense because people should know the truth.
It's not really possible to come to any definitive conclusions. However, what we found out suggests that the majority of the abuse came from outside the UK. The Centre for Countering Digital Hate identified 105 accounts on Instagram that had directed racist abuse towards Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka and Jadon Sancho in the hours after the final of the European Championship. Newsnight has analysed the posts for clues as to where the person behind them was posting from. 9 of the accounts are no longer active. For 32 accounts, there wasn't enough information to make any sort of assessment. But for 59, the evidence suggests that they are outside the UK. In fact, for only 5 out of the 105 did it appear that the account was from someone inside the UK. Obviously, this is not definitive and only a snapshot, but it is perhaps an instructive one.
First though, some tit on GB News bent the knee, sucking out yet more credibility from this so-called anti-woke right-wing news outlet. That, in all honesty, is about as right-wing as Owen the Soy Boy Jones while being as anti-establishment as Sir Keir Starmer is. In fact, any claims from the lunatics on Twitter that this is a right-wing news outlet really need to take a running fucking jump because it's completely laughable at this point. As most will know, some of their staff have jumped on the bandwagon calling England fans racist and furthering the narrative that the mainstream media love to push. This was likely overblown to conceal the vote in Parliament yesterday mandating the prick for care home staff, something I actually covered in March this year if I remember right. Essentially though, clap for carers has now turned into do as Supreme Leader Boris tells you or you will lose your job, you fucking peasant. Obviously, this could backfire if enough carers just quit, but in all honesty, immigration-loving Boris would probably fly them in from the buttfuck middle of nowhere, qualifications or not. We know at this point that care home residents are not important to Boris or the powers that be. The do not resuscitate orders put on them last year proves that in my mind. But this care home shit show I'm going to deal with in a separate video on its own. Now another thing that the media have been promoting is the Marcus Rashford painting that apparently race-baiting fuckpigs claimed had been covered in racist graffiti. Of course, this has now turned out to be complete and utter bollocks because all it had on it was shite and bastard according to recent media reports. Now, I don't actually care how good you are at mental gymnastics, there's literally no way to swing shite or bastard as being racist. Even David Lammy and Diane Aberpotamus would struggle to make them words look racist if you ask me. They might try, but it would be laughed at like most of the shit they say. At the end of the day, the whole thing is literally bollocks as I said in my first video, especially after the stats showed most of this abuse directed at football players after the match came from outside the UK. Now, BBC Newsnight actually reported it shockingly enough. A bit late though, the damage is already done. Most people will believe the original story they pumped out like Hancock pumps his taxpayer-funded aids. But as I said from the start, it's a storm in the teacup to give the media something to report, away from the news like votes in Parliament shitting on the health rights of care workers, who as you know last year got clapped by demented seals at Boris Johnson's request only now to have been shat on by this government. I will obviously do a dedicated video on that later though, like I said. For now, before I end this video, remember to check out my website, BitChute, Odyssey and much more that's linked down below. Obviously, my website is the best place to chat with me and other viewers directly, while following me elsewhere is always good given the times we live in and the censorship that's only ever likely to increase.